Welcome back to another episode of the Hobby Chop Podcast.
No. Stop that. Uh, Michael Variali, bad man.
It's his fault.
Cut the intro. He brought on a Caitlin Clark injury. Ken, I didn't even want to. I remember before when we had our meeting. I was like, I don't want to do this question.
I'm going to back you up. You saying we should never do this question because we're going to jinx the girl. And I laughed about it. And yeah, we're blaming it all on Michael.
Been getting all these DMs of, oh, you jerks. You guys said this and then Caitlin got hurt. No, this is Michael. And yes, I will. I'll hang him out there. I'm not taking any responsibility on this. No intro today. That's terrible.
Couldn't even get through the intro. I'm going to say we're the podcast for the people.
For everyone besides Caitlin Clark, I guess. Jeez.
We wish her a speedy recovery, and
absolutely.
I was hoping for a market dip, but that's not happening.
I mean, like in all seriousness, it's like what she's might miss 2 weeks. That said.
Yeah. I mean, you have to expect it. I mean, just any professional athlete is going to, be sidelined at any point of a regular season.
Yeah.
With something. And I mean, I know a lot of players, in the NFL, a lot of players just play through injuries, but it's only one game a week. And we say it's only one game, but that one game is, it's a brutal game for them, where a lot of other professional sports play multiple games per week. And, they just have to take the time off. They can't.
Are you trying to say the WNBA isn't a physical game?
Oh, no, not at all. I'm just saying there's more than one game per week, right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, Zip, how you doing?
I'm good after fending off all the people, saying that we had a voodoo doll for Caitlin Clark, pretty much. So, no, I'm doing good.
It was amazing how many comments we got of people blaming us.
Yep. Yeah. No. It's like, have you seen some of the cards that me and Ken have had? We would never wish a thing on Caitlin Clark. Not even just, first off, as people, we wouldn't do it. But second off, our wallets, why would we do that? There'd be, I don't think there's been any like single player since I've been in the hobby that's like made me more money than Caitlin Clark. Just honestly.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's close off of one player.
And you and I were talking over the weekend, and I was saying I don't know how many, and this is something we're probably going to have to deep dive into, and this will probably be right down Tyler's lane when he gets back. But how she surpassed so many professional athletes as far as popularity in the hobby, as far as, people buying cards and chasing cards and who they're buying and the trajectory of the value of her cards that just continue to go up and up and up, that it's just amazing that we probably haven't seen that from many other professional athletes.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it has to do something with, it has something to do with the growth of the entire sport that she's brought. Like, that's just like, God, I know Tyler had said it too, and I know other people have said it. It's so weird to like say it her in the same breath as like Michael Jordan, because like obviously she's not Michael Jordan, but like what he did for the game of basketball in the 90s. Like that growth, that interest, that captivation of just everyone. I mean,
yeah,
she's doing it. So,
yeah. And I didn't follow basketball back then, right? But one of the questions I would ask, being part of this happening with her, was, did he bring non-basketball fans into the sport when he broke into the league back in the 90s? or the late, actually 80s, in the 80s, when he came in the 80s, into the 90s? Was he bringing people in because of his sneakers and all these other things that were going on? Was he drawing people into the sport?
Well, this is exactly why we need Tyler, because I just have to go off of past tense, because I was born in '97, so I was born in the
Oh,
season in which he won his sixth ring.
oh,
So
you're a baby. You're just a
yeah, so
child.
you know, from everything that I've read and watched and all of that, is like he just grew the game globally, and then the dream team in that Olympics was huge, and he was main guy on it. So there's that too. But yeah.
Nice. Well, let's jump into the episode today. Cards with or without buying strategy. And we're just going to talk today about and before we even jump into it, right?
Yeah,
We have some exciting news, right? That I'm going to hold to the end, but we have an exciting announcement that before we leave today, we're going to give you an exciting announcement.
I'll break the news. Lovelace coming on to the podcast next week.
But right now, cards with or without buying strategy. What to buy, who to buy, why to buy, when to buy. And when it comes to what to buy, you'll never hear me in all 6 seasons and 3.5 years of doing the podcast. I'll never tell anybody what to buy. I've never told anybody what to buy. I tell people what I buy and why I'm buying it. All these questions: why I'm buying it, who I'm buying, when I'm buying, why I'm buying at that particular time. But I never tell people what to buy. But I will tell you, and I'm going to throw this over to you in a minute, Zip. What I will tell you is, you hear people say all the time, stay in your lane, right? Well, when it comes to what to buy, I think people should buy what they're most comfortable buying, right? If whatever sport they know the best, whatever players they know the best, and what price points that they want to buy too. That each individual collector, right? Everybody's going to be different, and we all have a different reason. We all have a why we're doing it, right? And that why is different for everybody, and price points, players, sport, everything is going to change. So I would never tell you, who or what to buy, but I'll tell you what I'm buying and why.
Okay. So I think when it comes to what to buy, it really comes down to what, because I don't want to just sit here and then, like, my main like I buy and flip, like, mainly. But like, I think when it comes to what to buy, it really has to come down to what you want to do or what your goal is. So like, if your goal is to collect a certain player, then what you're buying is that player. If your goal is to flip, then I think the what to buy really has to depend on who you're going to sell to, and what your outlets are. Because if you get a great deal on some really nice, like, high-end soccer cards, but you have no clue of who you're going to sell those to or how, then it doesn't matter how good of a deal you got on them if you don't know how to sell it. At least in my opinion. I mean, like, there's always eBay, but I think I could be a good example of, there's a lot of success on eBay, and then there's also things that don't go as well as you thought. So I think knowing where to sell, for me, is the reason on what I buy. If that makes sense.
So if I'm getting this right, if I'm understanding this right, when you're buying with an exit strategy. So you
Yeah.
know when you're buying, where and when and who and what price point those cards are going to be leaving you after you purchase
Yeah.
them.
I don't know how in depth you would want me to go on that, but like I bought a decent sized collection, over this weekend. And there were like 300 cards in the collection. And I'd say like a third of it was slabs, and then 2/3 of it was raw. Um,
And was it football, baseball, basketball? What was it that you were buying?
so the majority was football and basketball. Majority is football and basketball, and there was a few baseball cards, more like older baseball cards though. And the thing was with them is it's really about the cost of the cards that I had for where I'm moving them to.
Mm-hmm.
And that matters too. So like I have a strategy where I basically middleman. So like I'm sourcing cards from private collections and then selling to basically someone who's sourcing to a bigger fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what I'm doing. So like for example, if you're going to sell to a repacker, it's probably important to know what they want. Like if that's one of your main people that you flip to,
Mm-hmm.
or if you sell to someone on Whatnot, you need to know what they want. And for example, the two people I'm talking about that I'm selling to have completely different price ranges, and different types of cards that they want. So there's like no overlap, which is great. So when I buy a huge collection, as I'm picking through a collection, I'm like, this is going here, this is going there, this is going there. Oh, maybe I'll grade this. No.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's just, I've done it enough times at this point that I don't even have to say that in my mind. And as I'm going through the collection, I'm just sorting it
Mm-hmm.
because I know where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's the right way, but that's like what I'm doing. Because also, if you're more of a collector, the what to buy is the player or team and the type of card or the great. There's a lot of things into that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, I wanted to add a really nice Jason Tatum card to my collection because I'm a huge Celtics fan. I'd probably be looking over the summer. Out of the season, out of season, and he's hurt. It's probably a good time to pick up Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, and just going back just a bit, the percentage of people in the hobby that do exactly what you're talking about now, that just go out and find collections that like this is your lane. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's just what you do, and you've been talking about this all along. What would you think the percentage of people are that are actually doing that? And as I say that, and I want you to answer that question, I bet you there's a lot of people who would rather be doing that, right, than probably some of the things they're doing now. But percentage wise, what would you say? How about how many people? What percentage? Not how many, but percentage wise, people in that lane
that do it to like my extent.
Yeah, just what you're doing, exactly what you're doing.
To my extent, I would assume like maybe like 15 to 20%.
I would think it'd be pretty low like that,
because like, and the people who are trying to do it is higher.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I think it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of perseverance and a lot of persistence. Like we could have a whole podcast about horror stories that I've had trying to buy from people. Like here's a quick one. I drove up. It was such a good deal, and everything seemed legit. Like guy had a bunch of posts that wasn't a new Facebook account or anything like that. And I drove 2.5 hours north of Boston at like 11 p.m. to pick up this Brady rookie. And it was just like, it was fake. It was just fake. And I cursed the dude out in the parking lot and sped off home. And I got home at like 1:30 in the morning. For every for every great collection I buy, there's probably 15 to 20 like just waste of my time in between too. And I think a lot of people give up on that.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's to be expected. I mean,
yeah,
that's and sometimes it's no fault of the person selling it too. Like I've seen online on Facebook groups people saying, "Hey, I'm selling all this for $1,000," and then I've gone through it and I said, "I don't think this person really knows what they have because it's nowhere worth nowhere near $1,000, right?"
right.
So
Or you
maybe
get
it's
or you get the novice who has a card and they're like, it's a raw card, and they're like, well, yeah, it sold for $500, and then you go and look, it's like $150 card, and a PSA 10 did like 450, and they think that's what it's worth, and it's like,
yeah.
I actually saw this on Chasing Cardboard. You ever seen that YouTube series?
Mm-hmm.
He went to this guy who had a vintage collection, what I think is a little different than what I'm talking about here, but still, the guy had all of his values based off what he thought the cards would grade. And again, a little different with vintage. I think there's a little more leeway with that than there is modern, right? But yeah, it's like, how frustrating is that if you're going to people to buy collections and they just can't even be fair? It's really annoying. I'm sure you deal with that. I'm sure it shows. And
Yeah, and you know, what we do is completely different. I mean, sometimes I would like to be able to dabble in that lane, like, you know, switch into that lane that you do every now and then. But for what I do, I I I like to drag it out longer. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's like when all of a sudden when I make a plan, my plan is never like one day or 24 hours or 16 hours, right? My plan on this cards are always 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, right? Things like that. So, you know, and to me,
but talk
like,
about that. That's a strategy. That is a strategy.
yeah,
That's your
yeah.
strategy, and
And,
there's nothing wrong with that.
no, and I like I've talked about this, you know, so many times on the podcast that, you know, I figured out a way that what worked for me. Like people like yourself, they buy something and they have an exit strategy with it pretty immediately. Like they want to just keep things moving, and I completely understand that. I'm in a position where I can buy and grade stuff now and hold it for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and then hope to do well. It doesn't mean I'm doing any better or any worse than somebody that's moving in 24 hours. And sometimes I think to myself, like what you just said, like, oh, this collection I just picked up over this weekend, it was mostly like football. And in my mind, as soon as I say that, I'm like, okay, we're you know at the end of May right now. The football really hasn't started to go up. Boy, that's some of that football I could take and just put in a box over here on the shelf, and that could be a short-term 30-day, 40-day hold where I could probably make a better percentage on it than selling it in 10 hours or 12 hours, right? Where you're like, I don't care. That stuff's gone already. Like I've already shipped that. And sometimes you're like, you put something up. I'm like, oh, what was that card? And you're like, oh, I already shipped it out. It's gone. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we both do, you know, we've talked about it. We both do completely different things, but we have much different strategies too, right? In the hobby, I do a lot of prospecting, right? More than most people do. And I'm not buying many players right now, which is much different for me at this time of year. So for the last 5 years, I would be going all in on every quarterback, the Herberts and the Burrows and the Mahomes and I would be just stockpiling as much as I can. This year has just been a little different, right? I've been doing more WNBA stuff. I've been doing more like Mahomes rookie stuff that are somewhat of longer term holds, and stuff that I could, if I wanted to sell it, or I could just hold it. Right. I have stuff I'm buying, and I guess what I'm saying is there's no exit plan to it. So I'm stockpiling, I'm prospecting on the Sarah Strongs and I've talked about the Juju Watkins and things like that, players that haven't gone and are not going to the WNBA for a few years. So I don't mind putting all those cards away. And then the other side, I'm buying cards with no exit plan, like Mahomes rookie cards or Josh Allen rookie card or things like that, where I'm thinking to myself, these are players that their cards could just explode even further than they are right now, right? So I don't think I'm going to lose on them, so I hold them and I wait for better news.
Yeah, for me, I think a big reason I don't necessarily hold things is that there's just so much of all of these cards that, like, oh, did I just sell that? I'll get it tomorrow. That's like how it feels, though. You know what I mean? Like the amount of these cards that I've just touched and sold, and I've had them again. Sometimes I wonder if it's cards I've bought already. It happens to me all the time. Like, did I just get this again? And it's just like, I think for me, like, to hold it would have to be a pretty special card, honestly. And what that means, I don't even know what that means, honestly. Like, what that would mean to me to be a special card to hold. Like, I'm not exactly sure, because, like, the phrase "you can't go broke taking a profit" just resonates with me, because, like, you just take the profit and then take another profit and another one and another one, rather than holding and something crazy happens. Like, especially with NFL players. Like, I mean, lawsuits galore. Like, it doesn't have to be on the field. I swear to God, sometimes it's scarier to hold NFL players in the offseason because they're bored and have all this time on their hands to go, as you know, race Lamborghinis down the highway. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? You know, and it's just like, I don't know.
Here, I'm gonna sum it all up right here. You know, think back, way back for you, way back till you were 20 years old or 21 years old. And I say, here's Zip, here's $30 million at that age. It would be hard for me not to go buy a Lamborghini and race it, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah,
at
I was
that
just going to
age.
say I'd be going to race a Lamborghini. No, absolutely. Again, more so, why am I not holding these cards? Because the world's crazy, and I just, like, if I can make money and then make money again, I will do it.
Yeah. So there's never you're never buying cards without a strategy, like with or without buying strategy. I mean, everything you're buying is your strategy is, you know, you've got somebody to purchase them and you're buying them with an exit strategy.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. And again, I've said too, if I would like there, because I'm getting to the point where the collections I'm buying, like, I sell, like, you know, 2/3, 3/4 of it, and everything else is free, you know, or at least I've made my money back. And it's just like, I would like there to be, if there is something special enough to hold, that would kind of be the opportunity that I'd like to do that in, you know. I just haven't come across a card that I feel that way about yet.
So your person on the end buying those cards says to you, hey, Zip, this is what we're really looking for right now. Like this, and you know that. Are you able to share? Like, can you just say what these people are buying now? You know, what seems to be the ask?
I mean, a big obvious is just the case hits. The football case hits are in hot demand always. So, you know, your downtowns, uptowns, kabooms, explosives, and all of that. People love them, you know. And I don't think they're that special at this point. The numbered ones I think are pretty special because the art on them is cool. But like, just the regular, like, it's just, I must have had every single downtown from the Donruss set in my hands at one point or another since, you know, January, February. and it's just like there's so many out there. So that's the big thing for me is like for me to feel like something is worth holding to sell at the right time. I haven't felt that way with anything ultra modern, and I've had some really good ultra modern cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I don't find anything in the ultra modern lane that is worth holding right now.
well,
I mean,
so like that's what I'm trying to say is like, Ken, what are the things that you've bought that you would sell but you're holding because they're that special? Like let's talk about that because I'd like to explore that a little more because me and you actually had a conversation about my Black Pandora downtown.
yeah,
You kind of were giving me a little advice on or perspective on that card.
yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I know you move cards quickly, and my advice to you was hold that card for at least a month or two. That you really could capitalize on that card. I mean, the news just came out that that Buffalo is favored to win every game this year. Right?
yeah,
The only other two teams that come close to that are the Ravens and the Chiefs, and they're favored in every game but one, and both for each of them, it's the away game at Buffalo that they're not favored at, but they're just favoring the home team. So, with that being said, I mean, if Josh Allen goes on a run this year, especially we're here in the Northeast, if he goes on
yeah.
a run, his cards are going to be insane. I just honestly think that. Um, and I know I'm probably going to get yelled at. My son-in-law is going to be mad at me too because he's a huge Eagles fan. But as much as Jalen Hurts does, I just don't see like that explosive market for him.
Mm.
And I know the diehard Eagle fans, they're going to comments like I don't know anything, but I've been doing this in the hobby and I've been flipping a lot of cards. And last year I bought a lot of Jalen Hurts cards because I had a really good feeling about that team. And I talked about it, and I did not do well on those cards. I just didn't do well.
With
And
the best outcome, Super Bowl MVP in a Super Bowl, like with the
yeah,
best outcome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't do well on those cards, and some players that I don't do well on, no matter how I feel about them, I kind of stay away from them, down the
Yeah.
road.
I really feel like it's more narrative and hype than performance with football. Uh, a sport where it's very much stat related, though, I think is baseball. Um, People's prices will boom with like great stats. Not to say that that won't happen in other sports too, but I feel like it's almost truer in that sense.
Mhm.
I don't know your like knowledge and experience with that, but like I just feel like it happens every year when people will have these crazy stats and their cards will be in demand for like in the moment for that performance, which is nice and logical. It's nice to have some logic in the hobby sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Um,
But
but
it,
yeah, it just seems like so much hype with football and
yeah,
narrative.
you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've had cards of players in baseball that I had sitting around here, and all of a sudden I'm listening. Oh, he's hitting home runs. He's doing great this year, and I dig the card out, and then I look up the price, and I'm like, oh my god, the card's only worth this PSA 10 is only worth $40 or $50, right? But if you go with an NFL player that all of a sudden there's like all this quarterback, I should say, about all this news that they're all of a sudden, I mean, I think I'm just so used to those values just jumping up as high as they do. Where with baseball, I find that those, even though the player is selling better, somebody will say, "Wow, that player's up 60%," but they're up from you know 20 or $30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Their cards are really. I mean, they're making money on the cards, but there's not a lot of money to be made on those cards.
Well, you have to have the right cards. Um, yeah, you have to have the right cards.
Yeah.
And also, you just went to football quarterback. Like, well, what if you had like football, like a running back that was doing
Yeah,
really
running
well?
backs don't really do well. Wide receivers do, right?
No, I'm saying like
Jamar
someone has
Chase,
a crazy
Justin.
season and their numbers would improve. Like that card, the prices you were talking about, like
Yeah,
that could be more reminiscent of like a running back or a tight end like performing really well.
yeah.
Than a quarterback. That's the primo position. So
And basketball, I mean, I don't do a lot with basketball. We're deep into the playoffs right now, right? And I think there's only a handful of players that their markets are doing very well, and which is a lot like hockey, right?
Yeah.
I find basketball to be a lot like hockey when it comes to the playoffs.
Well, I have a good story with that. I sold what was it, on Saturday? I sold the Anthony Edwards Silver Prism PSA 10. And the guy was like, "Can you ship that out Monday? I'm worried they're going to lose game 4." And I was like, "I would love to, but it's Memorial Day." So I get a text today of, "Hey, can you get me tracking because they lost game 4?" And like, so the dude's like, "Crap, I got to get this in my hands so I can get it out of my hands because they're probably not going to the finals down 3-1 to the Thunder." And it was a good deal I gave on the card. Like, but yeah, like as the NBA playoffs happen, it's just every round that closes, players drop off because they're not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's hot potato, right? I mean, that's really what
for the
it's.
playoffs, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's that way for the NFL too. I think,
Mm.
like when you get to wild, I think the best week to sell cards in the NFL is the wild card weekend. Like you have all the playoff teams and everyone's making their picks. A lot of it based off like fans who think their team's going to win, even if it's not rational.
Yeah.
And people will buy those cards. But like after wild card weekend, a bunch of teams get knocked off. So it's just like it really is like I feel like if you're buying cards to then hold into the playoffs, like you better be sharp and know the sport, or
Yeah. And I'm going to bring it all the way back around is, I mean, I can't and haven't been able to buy enough of Caitlin Clark cards. Right. I just continue every time they become available, and almost every week on my solo and I'm sharing my pickups. I'm flashing Caitlin Clark cards. I'm buying them online. I'm buying, I'm ripping by. I mean, I just can't get enough of her cards. And it's at a point where I'm just going to hold all the numbered stuff, because I think that is where there's going to be so much value than all the non-numbered stuff that that just keep going, getting graded, and the market just keeps getting inundated with non-numbered stuff. So I'll be happy to move a lot of that non-numbered stuff, but anything autographed, anything numbered, I mean, to me, they're just long-term holds right now. I don't know where it's going to go, and if there's I have no exit strategy right now with Caitlin Clark stuff, similar to Mahomes stuff that I bought, over the last year, that I've just bought and put away, again with no exit strategy. I mean, I know every year we say that, or not we, but they say, oh, I don't think the Chiefs can do it this year. They're rebuilding. They're doing this. They've changed that. It just seems like every year they have major changes, but every year they're right there when it comes to the playoffs every year. And again, I say this all the time. It reminds me of the Patriots, for that 20-year run with a great coach and a great quarterback and, lots of things. So I stand behind them and wait to see, what happens with that. And do you think, and it's just a question, and you may or may not be able to answer it, do you think that Mahomes' market has more room to grow, like on his rookie cards and things like that? Not a lot of this anything newer, but if you go back to the 2017 cards, do you think there's still room for those cards to grow?
I think he'd have to get to 7 rings and tie Brady for them to boom. And like I don't know if this is a poor statement or not too, because I don't think Mahomes cards are like unsafe by any means. But like I feel like with how high like his prices and even Caitlin's prices are, I feel like there's a ton of upside in both. I think there's a ton of downside in both too. Just being like realistic about it.
Yep.
And again, like I love both players. Don't get that twisted. It's just like they're really expensive. And I think a lot of people get caught up on the chasing the dream, and then you don't think about any downside. So
yeah.
I mean,
feel with him. I feel with him too. Anything autographed or numbered is the way to go. Anything not numbered, not autographed, it's okay that when the market's up just to move it, and if the market comes down and you want to buy it back, buy it back. I mean, I've done that a number of times, but when it comes to the autograph stuff or numbered autograph stuff, I mean, if I get my hands on that, if I can get it a decent deal, I get it and I just grab it and I just put it away. It doesn't see the light of day.
The Primo stuff's probably great. Again, I don't have experience in that ultra high end market because like you start talking about Caitlin Clark and Patrick Mahomes, like top 25, top 10% of cards, and it's like it prices out almost everyone. So
yeah,
couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I'm buying and selling now is just it's the under 1,000 because it's just so many buyers that it's really just putting ego aside of like, oh, I have this huge card to then just doing what makes the most sense to make moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about how liquid those like $200 to $1,000 cards are because they're trade pieces. They're just easy to mix, match, and move around. You know that as a dealer, right? Like, just everyone, you can't keep them.
Yeah, and it seems like too, like I mean, I may be saying this wrong, but it seems like it's everybody's winning. The people that you're buying it from is happy to unload a whole collection and get paid for it. You're happy to take it and move it upstream to the next person, and the next person is also, that's their job to take a piece of that and move it on probably to its final destination to somebody who's also making money on it, and it's almost going to fall back into where you're back into the person that's going to sell that collection again, right? But and you would want to say that there's somebody's losing in it, right? But I mean, maybe they are if you go by dollars and cents, but it doesn't stop that food chain, right, from completing full circle.
Yeah, so I'll talk about like where I fit into that really quick because I feel like where I am and what I'm doing is probably resonates with a lot of people more so than the several people I sell to, right? For instance, I have a full-time job. Cards is not my full-time job. So both of the people I sell to, it's their full-time thing. And then also aside from that, like, I don't know if people understand how like big that is if it's your full-time thing and the volume you need to do to pay your bills. like we always hear percentages, this and that. It's like, you know how much money you have to transact for like a mortgage and car payments every month?
Yeah.
And for these guys, flights, hotels, all of this stuff that goes into making the deals, like you need the bankroll to do it. And I'll just say, like, I have nowhere close to the bankroll to be doing the volume that these guys are doing. And I feel like I'm doing what I'm doing very well. It's just like there's different levels to it. And I don't have the financial or just the time bandwidth. I mean, if I was doing their amount of stuff, like it just like, I don't know how I would do it. I have my son. I'm a full-time grad student, and I have a full-time job. Like, today I was stepping in as an emergency worker for the state. Like I don't know where the time in the day would happen to it. So like for me,
and And as your son grows, you're going to get less of that time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing to it too is there's a movie called War Dogs, and this is kind of how I think of myself. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they're selling arms.
Yeah, there's Jonah Hill and then
Yeah.
the Philly kid, Miles Teller. Yep.
Yep.
And so it's like, and one of the things they're like, yeah, you have all these government contracts that are millions and millions of dollars, and then there's the breadcrumbs, and the breadcrumbs in the arms dealing is like high six figures. You know what I mean? And they're like, and that's where we make our money. And it's like, that's what I'm doing, but like
high six figures
for the arms deals.
No, for you.
Oh, I would. No. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing the breadcrumbs. I'm doing the breadcrumbs is what I'm saying in that analogy. No,
yeah.
I wish I was doing the high six figures. Geesh. Yeah. No, doing the breadcrumbs but like you just do the breadcrumbs over and over and over again and it works out. So.
Nice. Good. Anything you want to add before we move on to listener questions?
No, but before we get to listener questions, should we talk about the question that you left for the audience?
Well, it's not a question. It's
yeah, it is. You asked people about how they felt about dealers.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We should. Let's hear those. So the question was, should promoters set up at their own shows?
Mm-hmm. And while I didn't hear a ton, we did have a comment on the listener questions. Did you get any DMs about that question or no?
I did. But go ahead. Go in.
I'll read it while you're looking. Yeah, from Bill Ox at Bill and Billy Sports Cards. Bill said the question, and he has a show, correct? That he puts on. Yep. Yeah. Said the question that was put out to us card show promoters. And he said, at a small local show that I run in Danbury, I do set 2 tables aside for my son and I to set up. I will also give up one of those tables if I overbook or someone that thinks they secure a spot shows up. If I did a show that had over 60 tables, I would not be setting up. I would have Billy running the door, and I would have to be 100% focused on the vendors and attendees. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, at a sub 60 table show, like that's pretty manageable. And also like us knowing him too, him having someone else that's there, like if a problem like came up, Bill would then just go and figure that out, and Billy would run both tables.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a pass. I think that's fine.
Yeah, and I think
that makes sense to me.
I think for most of the small shows you see that, but when you get into larger shows, I don't see promoters. Maybe their brand is being set up, but you don't see the promoters setting up at the at their table. So I did have a message here from Tom Gaidos. The promoter setting up at their own show question is pretty variable. If they have enough help to still do their promoter duties uninterrupted and they are not clashing with what the dealers are selling, then it would be okay. But if they are more concerned with selling their stuff and it negatively affects the dealer experience, then it's a problem. I think it depends on how they execute it as opposed to a black, white, yes or no answer. And I agree to that too. I'll tell you the one area that that I find issue is, and both of them kind of covered the same thing if they can handle their promoter duties, but I think it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I go to a show and the promoter hires somebody to take the money at the door, and they're the first table in with this massive buying sign and all the bells and whistles, that they're pretty much the first thing anybody sees coming through the door. Now, you're going to find that at any show, and I completely understand that. I don't know why. I think, like, look, I'm showing up to pay somebody for their for the table at their show, I should at least have the opportunity to be able to buy and sell and not be competing with the person I paid for the table. That's it. Whether it's wrong or right, that is just my thought. And I'm probably going to have people come both ways. And that's kind of why I just wanted to ask the question to see if other people kind of felt the way I did with that. I don't see it a ton, but I do see it at shows.
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to how it's handled. I think having someone there to step in if the promoter needs to go deal with things going on in the show, if that needs to happen, I think that's sufficient. Also, I mean, I could see it going both ways for the primetime spot at the front of the show. Okay, so like the promoter's there and they get first dibs at buying all this stuff. Okay, then you say, well, they did set up the show. They set all this up, so maybe that's what they get. And then you could say, well, what if something happens when people, they want to be at the entrance? They would want to be there too, location wise. Mm-hmm. And then, you go, oh, it's just, you're just using all the dealers to pay for everything. And then you're getting the primo spot. I can see it go both ways.
Yeah.
So I just think it's how they handle it. And I think show size is a real determining factor to it as well.
It is. I think so too.
Because I have no problem with the VFW shows that are small and
yeah,
that's fine.
Any of the bigger shows I set up at the promoters are not. It may be someone from their brand there, but the promoters themselves are not set up.
Yeah. Yeah. The well-run big shows, they don't have time to sit down.
No.
All right. So should we hop into some listener questions?
Yes.
Alrighty. This one came through you from Steve Brandon. Was that through Instagram?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Hi there. I'm not sure if this is okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
My two brothers and I have gotten back into collecting cards this last year with our kids. The three of us are going to the West Coast Card Show and are excited. The three of us primarily buy stuff to PC, not to repack or flip. So that is where we are coming from going into the show. None of us really have card show experience. What would you recommend? I also hear you guys talk about quote unquote repackers going through and buying everything right when a show opens. Is this something for us collector types to be concerned about? Is there anything you would recommend we do to make up for the fact that people are buying everything up just to flip? Also, we might do one of the trade nights. How should we approach that? Thank you guys for the advice, Steve Brandon.
So
bunch of good questions that are on a theme though. So that's a great question.
Yeah. So first of all, Steve, at the West Coast show, I'm table number 0419. So come see me. Because I am going to be there set up at that show. As far as being worried about repackers coming in and buying stuff up, it happens at every show. The bigger the show, the less. And people ask me this all the time about the repack because I talk about them coming in and buying people's cases out at the beginning of the show. But if you've got 100 tables or 150 tables and you got 10 repackers showing up, it takes you can vouch for this. It takes a long time for them to go through your cards and comp your cards and come up and make a deal. So they're not emptying out the whole show before people walk through the door. They may be hitting closer to the front door, but there's still a lot of product left in the room for people who are showing up. And a show like the West Coast Card Show, which I think it was like 600 or 700 tables. I would think it's a Thursday to Sunday show. If you're there anytime in the first couple of days, you should be able to have first look at most of the stuff that is showing up in that room.
Yeah, I would say like that show is going to be so big that repackers buying up stuff probably isn't going to impact you to the extent that you may think about from especially from Ken's narrative. It's yeah, like you'll have there's gonna be plenty of cards to get there
Yeah,
of your PC.
yeah.
Also, I
And
don't know what you PC. That also could be a big factor of it too. It's like if you PC kabooms and downtowns, they'll still be there. But some are probably going to be bought up too.
yeah.
But I would say the number one thing I would recommend, and this is just me. Again, we're not sponsored by them. Could be, possibly. Card ladder. I would have that in my phone ready to go because the one thing about a card show is those sticker prices, they're not truthful. They're not truthful one bit. Not at all, right? Not at all. So you take every price on a sticker with a lot of grains of salt and do your
Due
own research
diligence.
before
Yep.
even making an offer. That would be my number one advice going to a show if you've never been, because I think so many people would get wrapped up into something and be like, "Oh, I want this card so bad," and see the sticker price, and you're just like so excited to buy it, and you just spent $300 for $100 card. And if you're happy, that's great, but also like no one should be getting taken advantage of like that.
Yep.
So
As far as the trade nights, yes, go. That because the
yeah,
trade nights are usually the best part of these shows.
yep.
And like I know you talked about you buy cards just to PC. It's okay if you're not trading cards at trade night. I mean, people are selling cards just as much as they would be selling at a show. One of the differences about trade night is, I feel it evens the playing field a little bit because now everybody's a dealer at trade night, right? Not just the people who paid for tables inside the show, but everybody who attends a trade night is willing to, buy, sell, and trade any of their cards.
Yeah, I feel like trade nights are great because it really puts everyone on an equal playing field.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot more deals get done at trade nights than even card shows. I don't know how you, or like the ease of deals. The ease of deals. It's so absolutely going to trade night.
I think part of it is so someone like me, and I'll put it out there. I mean, the cost of the table is $650, right? So it costs $650 for a table. So when you're selling at a table, like you're trying to, recoup some of that money to cover the expenses, like the table and stuff like that. Where at a trade night, a lot of people aren't trying to recoup their travel expense to get to the show. I mean, they're willing to sell things or move things, and people kind of come in and think like, I'm bringing these cards to sell them because I'm looking to buy that card or this is my goal, right? So they've already come to the fact that they've created a price on their cards. And if you guys are bringing cards that you may want to trade or sell, again, like Jordan said, do your due diligence on your own cards, know how much they're worth, right? So
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
that actually
you didn't
that's
mention that, but I'm just saying, just even more importantly, know how much your own cards are worth.
what I would do personally. Like if I really wanted to be successful at a big trade night like West Coast Card Show, and this was newer for me. I would have my cards in a Google sheet and then like just with the values, just so you know, rough, like really quick to go back to and look. Just so yeah, that's what I would do. Too.
Yep.
But yeah, great question, and have fun at that show. Go see
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah, come see me. Looking forward to meeting you guys.
Alrighty, next question from Jack Thomas. When comping cards, is there a certain app you use for different situation, values, rarity? He said that you all use. Example, use Alt for graded, use Card Ladder for raw. Here's a specific situation I found myself in when I bought a graded Color Blast. Last month, I bought a Color Blast of Jonathan Taylor, Obsidian 2023 and a PSA 10. Card Ladder is my go-to comping in general and based my value on the most recent comps, which were April, March raw comps. The most recent PSA 10 was in February. Because it was so old, I didn't even think it was relevant. When I went to my high-end flippers to resell, they both based the value on alt comp. which we're back in February. This was in April. I ended up too far off on value to the flippers, so I send the card to Alt for consignment. And he put in parentheses suggestion from the podcast. I would like to put that as suggestion from Tyler, not the podcast. I on record would never send a card to Alt, but it ended up ending lower than I valued it. But you win some, you lose some. And also, just to go back for that on Tyler, he was talking about specific cards to send to Alt, and I think it was like uber high end sort of thing. So again, something I don't even dabble in. But and then he said, "I'm looking forward to seeing Ken at the West Coast Card Show." Thank you, Jack. Well, Jack, thanks for writing that in. I'm sorry you had that experience. In my opinion, February's not terribly long ago if there's no other comps and it's a PSA 10 sale. Like if it was February 2024, yeah, that's a long time ago. Especially like PSA 10 is a 1-to-1 comp. And if they're a reseller or a flipper, I can tell you it's just the strategy. Like if it's a more favorable comp where they have to spend less money, like if those people bought the card from you, they would use the PSA 10 value from February and then try to pitch a story about, yeah, well, Raw did this, so PSA 10 is now this. Like that's just how it goes. And I think when it comes to something kind of nuanced like that, you either have to stand your ground on it and find the right buyer or let it fly. Yeah. I think those are kind of the options.
A number of times I've had cards that I've held on to, and then all of a sudden there's a sale, like one sale comes up or shows up, and maybe 3 months, 6 months, 7 months past it where the card value should have gone up, and I put it in my case at what and I'm not going to say an alt value, what I thought the value was, or a card ladder value was of that card. And I had so many people would come and base it on a low comp. And that's just the nature of the game, right? Where if whoever's buying the card, if they could find that low comp there, that's the strategy to use. And if you're selling a card, you're going to find the high comp to use that strategy to sell the card or any way you can. So,
yeah, I want to, and you, Ken, you'd probably think this is interesting. You would be amazed because you know how quickly I buy and sell things. You'd be amazed how often that still affects me with the velocity that I'm moving things at too. Yeah. Yeah. Like I bought a card. I had it at 175 value, and then I go back. And then there's a $150 sale and a $112 sale since I bought it, like the day before.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, geez, I'm underwater on that, and I didn't do anything wrong. I bought it correctly off of the values, and then it's kind of
I have that happen to me on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll comp cards on Friday night. I'll put it in my case, and Saturday afternoon, somebody will be like, "Oh, the last comp." I'll just make up a number. I put it at 225 because I saw the last sale was 225, and somebody will say, "Oh, the last sale was 168," and I'm like, "No, it wasn't. Yeah. It just sold."
Like, here it is.
And then they look, and I look, and I look it up, and I'm like, "That's on like that sale just happened an hour ago or 2 hours ago."
Yeah. Brutal, but it's part of the game.
Yep.
All right. Well, great question. And so Jack Thomas, really quick before we move on, I know we talked about this in the past. Consignment is very valuable, in my opinion, for a lot of reasons, like just to clear things out. Like I know, especially you as a dealer, Ken, you've talked a lot about having stale things, and you can just move them there, usually for better prices than you would have ever thought about getting at shows. But
not necessarily. I'll tell you one of the reasons I use the consignment is because it's out of my control, right? So if I go to a show and I've got a card and somebody's offered me up, and I just know I can't sell that card at that because I know what I bought it for. It's just one thing in my mind that says, yeah, I just can't do it. But once I put that in a box and I send it off to consignment and I see it going, I'm like, no, it's going to go too low, but it's out of my, So it's more of a psychological thing for me. It's like okay, that's what it sold for. That I guess that's what the new comp is, and I'll just take the money and put it into something more worthwhile.
Oh, I thought I remembered you talking about like a bunch of stale stuff, and then it was just a way to.
Well, that is stale stuff.
Okay.
That's what that is. That is stale stuff.
Okay.
The stuff that just is not selling at shows, or people are just not looking at. In my cases, that I think if I just put more eyes on it, it's going to get more bids.
With consignment, it really seems like you have to do your research on consigners, on what consigners sell certain cards for certain, that do the best. I can't really speak to all because I've never used them other than to check prices of cards. But I use PC Sports Cards as a whole. I'm very happy with how they are. Definitely have gotten like smoked on some cards though. But it's the nature of consignment. But yeah, sorry that happened, Jack.
But you've also hit some grand slams on other cards too, with consignment.
I guess I should say that, like, if I'm looking at it as a whole, it's so in the positive, pros, cons. Like, if you were to do every positive versus every negative sale, it wouldn't be close to how positive it's been for me in that experience. Yeah. But then again, I'm also someone that, like, like, if I had stale cards, like, I would have no rigidity on them like that. Like, oh my God, not this. Like,
these cards you're sending are not stale cards. These are cards you're getting and saying to yourself, I think if I send these to consignment, I could do really well with them, right?
I guess stale for me is like 4 days. So yeah, I guess that's all right. Greg Yazzo. Well, someone jinxed Caitlin last week. I thought NFL refs were bad. They have nothing on the WNBA officials. Watching Fever games last week, the last quarter of Liberty and Fever, the play with Cloud to end the game was a disgrace. The series with Atlanta, there were more than a few fouls that should be flagrants. Why do you think these officials are keeping their whistles in their pockets? And do you think there's a hesitancy by the league to come down on some of the African-American athletes, especially in favor of Clark? I thought Griner was out of line with some of her comments and actions during that series. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say what I think about that. There may be something to it. Honestly, I can't say I've been too plugged into the WNBA, and
you know what? It's all brand new, and this is the problem. I mean, from the difference from last year to this year, with all the changes they made and all these new coaches and new players and everything that's going on, it's brand new. So, and it's the beginning of the season. So whatever they've decided that they are going to call and let go, and how rough they're going to let people play, and what they're going to let them get away with. I mean, hockey was a sport that, a good fight brought the crowd to their feet, right? And brought spectators in to watch the game. So, and I'm not saying this is hockey, but I think it's growing pains. I think it's WNBA growing pains right now. And I think you're going to see it start to, level off a little more as we go through this season. And I think they're just going to find, their sweet spot. Is that the right way to say it? They're going to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But there's definitely just growing pains right now.
I think anything Fever and Clark is going to be under a spotlight. Under a microscope too, just because it's going to have the most eyes, and she's just the most popular and captivating player the league has. I don't even really think that's an argument. Like, right? I think that's more factual. Like, she's
and they blow things way up too. Anything to do with her and to Angel Reese or anything. I mean, you can't. You can't go to social media without seeing all the videos and the comments.
I want to say it's way more related to Caitlin Clark, and maybe refs not wanting to look like they're favoring Caitlin Clark with all the. If I had to put it, I would think it's more the refs don't want to look like they're giving her a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander whistle. Like, okay, like I don't think they want to look like that more than it is race.
Yeah,
like not giving people balls based off race. I could be wrong, but like if I had to guess, I would assume that's what it is.
It's gonna more people are gonna come watch. I mean, even bad publicity is good publicity, right? I mean, it's gonna bring more people to watch. You know, even like that comment right there that you just read, and I know you don't watch WNBA, but don't you think to yourself, man, maybe I should watch and see what's going on in these games? It sounds like, I mean, anything, right? It's going to draw people to pique their interest to go watch some of these games, and it's working because a lot of the fan base. There's more people watching the games. There's more people going to the games.
Yeah, I'd want to go to one rather than I like being at events. I'd like to go to. I mean, we have the Connecticut Sun like right down the street for me, so I could do that. When I say go to one, I'd want to go to a Fever game. Like
I think the Fever come during the National because I could get tickets, but when they're there, I'm not here. I know it's either during when the National or it's during West Coast Card Show. It was one of those that I knew.
Maybe I'll do that then because I have my residency the week before. Good, I'll have to look into that.
Yep.
All right. Last but not least, Michael V.
We started with you, but ending with you, kid.
Now that Caitlin Clark is temporarily out on the injured list, does this change your strategy, or is it a good time to buy her cards? Well, and then he goes, reality of injuries, period. Yeah. No, it doesn't change a thing because it's like it's not a serious injury at all. Like it really means nothing. Like I don't know. This injury is not like a good. There's not going to be a dip on her. There's no no.
Trust me, I'm trying to buy her cards every day. There's no dip.
No.
And it just keeps climbing a little bit higher. And even today I was getting an order ready to go to PSA, and I've created my own scale here that says, is this worth sending at a higher, is it worth spending the May special for $39 to send a card?
We should talk about that at another time. That'd be interesting.
For grading.
That'd be very interesting.
For grading, or should I just send it and let it come back in August sometime because they're so backed up? But then all of a sudden I look up a card that I've been sending in just under regular bulk, which is this orange cracked ice, and come to find out even the PSA 9s are selling for like 150 or 160 bucks. The card raw is selling for 90 to 100, and the 10s are like $500, right? So now I'm like, well, if I really believe this card could get a 10, it makes it worth it to me to spend the extra $20 to get it back in 20 business days. Because if it could gem, then it's a non-numbered and it's a card that I could sell. So I know for a fact her prices are not taking a hit at all. They're still going very strong.
All righty.
So the exciting news. Next week, Tuesday, the Hobby Chop podcast is going to go live. We are going to do this live. We're going to do a YouTube live. We're going to try it out. I've done YouTube lives, but I've never been in the driver's seat. I've always been in the passenger seat. So this will be my first time in the driver's seat. So we will put some posts up on Facebook and Instagram just to remind everybody, but you'll be able to tune in and you'll be able to interact with us while we're doing this. So for the times you're driving in your car or you're at work or you're listening and you're like, oh, and you want to comment immediately, well, now you could just type the comment in and we can get it live while we're doing it. So we're going to give it a try and we're going to see how it works. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely try to advertise it throughout the week, but at this time we're planning on doing it Tuesday, and I'll just give you the date of that, which is this June 3rd, and I think we said 8:15, right? 8:15 East Coast time. So it may be a little early for the West Coasters that would be 5:15 for them, but we're going to do
Be
it
on the
8.
way home from work. Just don't type in the car on the commute home.
So we're going to give it a try. Hopefully it'll be fun and interactive and
yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yeah. And that's it. We went 10 minutes over tonight, so not too bad. Better than those hour and a halfers.
Alrighty, Ken. I will.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it, but it's not okay to say. But it's factual.
You're gonna say what?
When will I see you?
Yeah. Well, it will be next Tuesday.
Okay. All right then. All right.
All right. On that note, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank them for listening. Please please subscribe. We'll be back next week, but not only a brand new episode, but a live episode.
Live. Wow.
Live.
All right.
Take care.
See ya.